Hello and welcome to Pastor's Perspective, sponsored by Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. My name is Brian Perez, and we are here ready to talk to you, ready to answer the questions you might have about the Bible, the Christian faith, just about anything that's on your mind. Give us a call at 888-564-6173, 888-564-6173. Maybe you heard something on a message earlier today on the radio here that made you scratch your head or something, and you want to call and get some clarification. Well, we would love to try to clarify for you. 888-564-6173 is the number to call. And answering your questions today, we've got Brian Broderson, the senior pastor of Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa in Southern California. You also hear him on the Back to Basics radio program. Joining us from Charlotte, North Carolina, we've got Bobby Conway, the pastor of Image Church. And you also see Bobby on the Christianity Still Makes Sense YouTube channel. And Dr. Ed Stetzer is somewhere around here. He'll be joining us in a little bit as well. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
What's up?
How's it going, man?
Good. All is well.
Good. How's Bobby doing?
Doing great. Yeah, really good.
Doing great. Good. You still got that warm weather back there?
Yeah, very. It's so nice, and it feels so good to finally have it.
Yeah.
Warm, because it has been, a little bit oppressive at times.
Yeah.
So it feels great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look who the cat drug in.
What I'm referred to as the thing
He made it.
drug in? All right.
You know, it's a typical doctor. You know, you have a doctor's appointment at 8 o'clock. You go there, and like 9:30, they're going, we're going to get, the doctor's busy. He'll be out
Well, I
soon.
know you were planting churches in like Russia or something, but if you had gone to traditional college pathway, which you didn't do, you went a very non-traditional pathway, you would know that there's a professor rule that if the professor doesn't have a doctorate and he or she's 10 minutes late, you have to wait 10 minutes. But if he has a doctorate or she has a doctorate, you have to wait 15 minutes.
Okay.
So technically...
Well, you were close.
I'm literally like, it's a minute.
Okay.
It's 1 minute. I'm sorry that I've got to drive across town from Biola University, which is a little traffic on I-5.
Yes.
But here I am.
Yeah. Okay.
Where all you had to do is walk across... You drove your little cart.
Stroll
Just so
with
you
the
know,
golf
he has this little golf cart, like some guy in a retirement community driving around across the property.
Hey, man, that's the way we do it.
And all Bobby's got to do is press a button and show up. So I'm here, so leave me alone. Leave me alone. Hi, everybody. I'm Ed Stetzer. Good to connect with you. After that quite lovely welcome from Brian Broderson.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. What are friends for?
Not
except
that,
to give
it appears.
nice,
Not
that.
warm welcomes.
888-564-6173 is the number to call us with your questions from now till 4 p.m. Pacific time to ask Brian Broderson, Bobby Conway, and Dr. Ed Stetzer. So give us a call.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about any
Obscure.
anything in the Old Testament that is really obscure that nobody has addressed, Dr. Ed is here for.
Ever. I am not.
He's here for you.
I am not. Just for the record, those of you who don't know, I'm the dean at the Talbot School of Theology at Biola University, and I'm not an Old Testament professor. My field is missiology, which is engaging culture.
All right.
So just saying.
All right.
But I do lead the Talbot School of Theology. So what we need on this show is like, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Phone a friend. So I can pick up the phone and call one of our Old Testament professors and say, hey, what do you think? Not even tell them.
Fun.
Like, don't tell them ahead of time.
Yeah, that's
a great idea.
I was somebody's phone a friend when they were on one of those shows.
Really? Yeah.
It really was. Yeah. And they didn't need me, but I was like, they tell you got to be sitting by. It's not like, you're out grabbing a sandwich and they call.
Yeah.
So you got to be sitting by the phone at the time. So, but we could just call them up and not tell them ahead of time. I'd love that. So,
Well, and for obscure Old Testament stuff, we could call Dominic
Hernandez, our mutual friend.
Yes.
Who just put out a great tweet, by the way, on being a minority person in higher education, some of the challenges that are there. I just shared his tweet. And Dominic Hernandez he's brilliant. PhD. Where did he go to school? He
went to school in
Israel, in Jerusalem, I think. And teaches Old Testament for us at the Talbot School of Theology and has a Calvary Chapel background.
Yeah, Calvary Chapel background.
Calvary Chapel kid? Like, did he grow up in this context?
Yeah, not here. He grew up on the East Coast, and then he came here to our School of Ministry and did our School of Ministry. And he had already been educated. I think he came with a master's degree, but not in anything biblical or theological. Right. He left us and went to Princeton, and there I think he did like an MDiv or something.
Couldn't get into a good school?
Princeton,
so
yeah, right.
So, I'm actually looking, we're talking about him behind his back, so I'm looking at his, he did his PhD at Bar Ilan University, MDiv at Princeton, MA at Teachers College at Columbia, and then Westchester University of Pennsylvania. But he's associate professor of Old Testament and Semitic. So when you talk to him, like he'll be sitting at the table, you go up to him, he's talking to somebody in modern Hebrew, but he also could do ancient Hebrew, and he teaches Old Testament, and he leads Talbot in Espanol. You know, we have a whole Spanish wing now. Yeah. Like undergrad, certificate, master's stuff. Dude, it's good stuff. Yeah, good stuff. Sometimes I forget that you and Dom, did you guys go to Peru just recently?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't invite me to Peru.
Yeah, he was you would have been late for you down there.
I would have been late. Wow. He was a little more culturally acceptable in some contexts than it is on live radio.
No, he was repping Talbot School of Theology. He gave a whole, kind of a presentation on the program, which was excellent. And but my funnest times with Dominic, though, are in Israel, because you're walking around with him and nobody knows that he's not a local, because his Hebrew is so flawless.
Modern Hebrew, which is very different. It's than ancient Hebrew, which he also teaches.
Yeah, people
Biblical
just
Hebrew.
Think he's, and he's Hispanic, but most people think he's an Israeli. So, it's fun.
That's fun. That's fun. We need to take him and go to Israel. We've been to Israel together.
We have.
Brian Press didn't come with us. Yes. Bobby Conway didn't come with us. We should do
it
again.
Israel
trip together. When we went to Israel, Bobby, and all of our guests, there were a group of, 15 of us or so. And of the maybe 20, like half of the group got a tattoo while they were in Israel in our group.
They did, yeah.
And Bobby, those of you who don't know, Bobby's got he's sporting some tats on those arms of his. So but Brian Broderson, he did not get a tattoo because we should have someone call in and ask our tattoos.
But remember, everybody thought I was going to do it, and they were so excited, and then I was joking with them. Like,
yes, you did kind of like you kind of got this mischievous sense of humor.
But Razooks, where everybody got their tattoo, did you know that the West Coast representative for Razooks is Neil Gotting, who is on our staff, and he does tattooing for Razooks here in Southern California.
I had no idea. Now, for those of you who don't know, Razooks is the oldest continuously operating tattoo parlor in the world. 700 years. Yeah. They've been doing tattoos. And so they have a branch in LA. If you don't go to the Jerusalem, what's the point?
Well,
It's like saying famous Italian restaurant. But not in Italy.
Yeah,
they're not using the same tools from 700 years ago.
Literally take out stone chisels. That's how Bobby got his tattoos on his arm. He just stone chisels in Israel.
Right. So did you get one, Ed?
I did not get one there. I do have tattoos. So if you'd like to call in and ask us if tattoos are okay, it's 888-564-6173. Because the very first time I was on Pastor's Perspective, someone asked the tattoo question. Yeah. And I felt a little bit like, maybe Brian should answer that one since his skin is flawless.
Yeah.
Perez, do you have any?
I do not.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Bobby?
Yeah, Ed, it's a lot more edgy than you would.
That's what Ed is short for, right? Edgy? Edgy Stetzer.
That's it. He has this mild-mannered professor look, but he's really
I'm just saying, I'm not the one who was talking about the Easter Bunny last time. I think you were all in on the Easter Bunny, and I was a little bit cautious about holiday myths.
We were going to plan to beat up the Easter Bunny.
Easter egg hunts at church. I'm just saying, folks, you can call in and talk about these concerns you have with our friend Brian Broderson at 888-564-6173. I just like giving out the number, Perez.
I can tell. I can tell.
I do.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, here we go with a question that was sent in online from Kevin, who listened to Pastor Brian Broderson this morning on the Back to Basics radio program. And Kevin says Brian was teaching on Malachi, chapter 3, verse 5, which says, I will come near to you to judgment. I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers and against the adulterers and against the perjurers and against those who oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and who deprive the foreigner of justice and don't fear me, says Yahweh of armies. I am one that believes in secure borders. But this got me to thinking about those who deprive the foreigner. I had a moment where I thought on this and wanted to see, without getting into the political weeds, how you feel about those coming across. I pray for a resolution to the border issue. Just want to see how you are praying for and feeling about it. Brian.
Without getting into politics is what he said. So I'm looking forward to seeing how you pull that off, because I'm holding back.
Yeah, I believe in legal immigration. I think borders are a good thing. Apparently everybody in the world thinks they're a good thing because every country in the world has borders. So it's nothing new and it's nothing evil. And of course, many people that live in this country came from other countries. They crossed the border legally and settled in this country. Now, I used to live in England, and when I went to England, I had to have a visa. I always have to show my passport when I fly into London, and I'm going to go about my business in the UK, but I'm not going to go about my business until I pass through the border and through immigration. And I think it's just common sense. So I think we should have borders. I think we should enforce the border. That's what a border is there for. I don't think anybody thought this was a bad idea until relatively recently. And so we do need to be, I think, sensitive to foreigners, and I think we need to understand the plight of people, even people who come across illegally. I think we need to have sympathy and so forth. But I don't think it's wise to just say, we're not going to worry about the border. Whoever wants to come across, we'll just let anybody in. I think that's a recipe for disaster. So,
Bobby Conway.
Yeah, I think anything in life, we have to have some borders. If you don't have boundaries and borders, then we'll destroy ourselves. We'll end up with all kinds of issues. So we talk about, hey, we're a free country. We want to be free. Well, we want the right kind of freedom. A freedom without boundaries leads to addiction and slavery. So we need some borders to protect us. And so you can think, for example, this wouldn't work in colleges and universities where you just say, oh, you know what, we're not going to have any boundaries up. There's no process. Just you can come straight from 5th grade right into our university. Here you go, because we're not going to have any borders. We're not going to have any boundaries. You can come work for us. We're not going to have any process. So processes and policies can be a good thing, and they are needed. And I think in a time where we're living, where we see some of the danger, think of like France, for example, with some of the Islamic issues, or even think about Richard Dawkins, who is mourning the loss of Christendom and its values in Europe right now and in England, as he describes himself as a cultural Christian, the one who went so hard at Christians in his God Delusion book is now decrying the fact that, you know what, England is going to be a predominantly Islamic culture at some point because they're infiltrating that area. And so I would say if you just open stuff up to anybody, then you can never really even have a constitution, because it can just constantly be, changed and flipped. So it seems like a really weak argument to not have a process. And so when people are talking about having a process, they're not saying we're not for having people come into the country any more than when a university says, let's have a process for accepting students. That doesn't mean that they're not for having students come to their university. They are, but they want the students to buy into what the university stands for.
Ed Stetzer.
Oh, I have so many follow-up questions for Brian Brodersen and for Bobby Conway. All right, let's wade in. I'll continue to wade in. So, first of all, there were no borders in the same way that we think of borders 2,000 years ago. So, when we look to the pages of the New Testament, it's difficult. In this case, he's going from Malachi, from the Old Testament. There were empires. There were occasional borders, like Hadrian's Wall was built at the edge of the Roman Empire to keep out the Scots and the Picts ahead and north of there. But by and large, you had peoples who were ethno-linguistic people groups. So Jesus says, go to all peoples, all nations. It's pantata ethne. So the root word of our English word ethnic, not quite the same meaning. But the nation state didn't exist as an idea when Malachi was written, among other nation states, right? So we'd have a border, we'd have passports, we'd have customs, we'd have walls. So that wasn't a concept. Their cities had walls, not nations.
Yeah, but
keep going. Can I finish? Can I finish? But you go ahead.
But let me just say, Malachi. Yeah. In Malachi's context, of course, people coming from outside the land of Israel were considered foreigners. That's right. What a foreigner was.
And I'm headed that way.
Okay,
Sojourners.
you need to get there quicker.
Well, if you're a professor, you got to fill up like 50 minutes a lecture.
All right.
So there were rules that, got to remember, these are nomadic peoples. So when a sojourner or a foreigner was in the land, you literally were supposed to take care of that person at maybe your, the place where you have water, and there's a sense of that. So part of the challenge is we can't kind of take modern border debates and just overlay them with New Testament, or in this case, Old Testament passages about caring for the foreigner in your midst. However, it still doesn't answer some of the questions. For example, you guys basically took a position that you're for legal immigration, which is not a particularly controversial aspect of it. However, evangelicals are the least enthusiastic, have the lowest approval of legal immigration, not just illegal immigration, but legal immigration. So the question then becomes twofold. How do you have a secure border? Do you build a wall across the southern border? And then how do you deal with people who have come across the border, which are unprecedented levels right now, and because of ultimately the failure of our current border policy. Yeah. So then people talk about undocumented immigrants, or people, it depends on the side you're on. People say illegal aliens or undocumented immigrants. So I think the question then becomes, if I could press a little more, we all agree legal immigration is good. My ancestors were Irish immigrants who legally immigrated to this country. Sort of legally immigrated. One of them jumped off the boat before Ellis Island because he was wanted for a crime. But nevertheless, the rest of them did. You're not shocked.
I'm not surprised.
You're not shocked by that.
No.
But the challenge is the way sometimes I hear Christians talk about people who are here as undocumented immigrants. Yeah. As if one Christian leader wrote a book portraying them as like animals trying to get over a wall, worthy of dignity and respect. So I think Christians can